She prepared us for segregation by teaching us things such as always walk and don't look them in the eye. If they're on the sidewalk, get off the sidewalk. If a police officer stop you, you say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. If a white person speaks to you, you say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You give respect because they have the ultimate power to destroy your lives.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Beneath the Silence, where we speak from scars, not the ones they left. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm Alisi. Today's guest is a family man, a professor, and a mentor to the community, and most notably, a military vet. He's someone whose leadership and life speaks volumes, not because he demands attention or seeks it, but because he's respected amongst his peers and community.
First off, we would like to thank him for his service and everyone else who serves their country. He served 26 years in the U.S. military. He's lived through segregation. He's led in classrooms and communities. He is now the director of FSW Collier Campus. But above all that, this man calls himself a servant.
We're talking about Dr. George Harvey, a man who's going to show us that leadership isn't about the positions that we hold or the titles that we have placed on us, but it's about purpose. How we're using these positions and these titles that we have to impact the life of others. He's here today to talk about redefining what family means to him, the legacy he wants to leave behind, and what the word servant leadership means to him. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you feel inspired and moved by today's episode.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this episode with a friend. Dr. Harvey, thank you for stopping by and having this conversation with us today. We're going to give you a quick second to introduce yourself. Let the people know a bit about who you are without even having to go to your story just yet.
All right, I'll be glad to do that. First of all, my name is George Harvey. Around the Collier campus is Dr. George Harvey. I am the director of Florida Southwestern State College. I am also an academic advisor, a professor, high school assistant principal, middle school assistant principal, middle school and high school dean. I am a teacher, Golden Apple winner, 26 years in the military, and I'm still having fun. So I'll turn it back over to you guys.
So, before the ranks and ribbons, who was George Harvey? How did growing up in the Deep South ground you as a kid and as a young man?
That is a great question. And to be honest with you, I have to give it all to my mother because I was born in the 1950s, raised in the 1960s in the segregated South. So when you hear about Martin Luther King and you hear about John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, those were my times. When you hear about the assassination of some of those great leaders that we have, such as Martin Luther King, I was alive and kicking during that time, going to a segregated school, working in tobacco fields starting at the age of 8, having 3 jobs, and having a mother that taught me that no matter where you come from, don't ever let anyone put you down, prepare me for what I was going to face later on in my life.
That was leading into my next question about the time of segregation, something many of us only hear about in books and through social media, but you actually grew up during that time. Can you talk a little bit about your experience growing up and how did it shape who you are today?
Yeah, actually, I give all of the blessings that I have to God and to my mother because my mother was born in the 1930s and she was also raised in a very deep segregated South. She prepared us for segregation by teaching us things such as always walk and don't look them in the eye. If they're on the sidewalk, get off the sidewalk. If a police officer stop you, you say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. If a white person speaks to you, you say yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You give respect because they have the ultimate power to destroy your lives. That doesn't sound fair by today, and many of the young people today will never face that, I hope. However, it did prepare me so that I was able to grow up. A lot of young people did not make it, and they didn't make it because they weren't taught these life lessons. My mother's also taught us one other lesson that I've always lived by. When we were young, we were playing marbles with a little white kid, and his mom came running outside, snatched him up, and told him she didn't ever want him playing with us ends again. Now, we were all poor in the same neighborhood. They were one of the last families. So I went home. I was like 9 years old, crying, and my mother said, "Son, listen to me. Not everybody's going to be like that. But if they don't want to play with you, you take your marbles and you go where somebody will play with you. you will always find someone that wants to play with you. Those lessons have carried me through this today, through my life. As a matter of fact, when I bought my house, there was a white lady in the yard, and I went to her and I said, "Hey, ma'am, I'm black." She started laughing. I said, "My wife is Italian. My daughter is mixed." And she said, "Okay." I said, "How you feel about me and my family moving into this neighborhood?" And a lady told me, "You'll fit in just fine. People down the street, they're Hispanic. I think those people are Pakistani. The other people on the other side, I don't even know what they are, but you'll fit into this neighborhood just fine." That was 21 years ago, and we've never had problems in our neighborhood. She was absolutely correct. Had she given me any sign that there was a problem, her laughter in the beginning when I said, "Hey, in case you don't know, some black kind of thing,"
Mm-hmm.
I would have walked away. I'd have got in the car, drove away, and said, "Not purchasing in this neighborhood." And that's what I give to young people today. If people don't want you to be around them, don't force yourself around them. Go find someone. They'll want to be around you, and you will find happiness. That's the lesson my mom gave me, and it sustains me today. And
That's,
that's job, housing, anything.
that's beautiful. We talk a little bit about your upbringing and you being in the military for 26 years.
26.
So, what first inspired you to join the military, and what were you hoping to accomplish by joining the military?
All right. So I was working three jobs. I was
Mhm.
working in tobacco fields in the summer. I was stacking groceries. I was driving a school bus. I stopped driving the school bus. I was also stocking groceries at night, and I was cleaning people's houses. I had my own lawn care business, and I would shovel snow in the wintertime whenever it snowed. I raked leaves, and I did whatever I could to help bring money in. So I was already a hard worker, and this was what I was doing all the way until the day I joined the Army. So what got me in the Army? Well, my mother said, "I got two more mouths to feed. You got to go, period." It wasn't like I wanted to go in the Army. I was running out the back door anytime a recruiter came, but she said, "You got to go." And she had two more mouths. And she said, "There's nothing in this little small town. You're really smart. Get out of here, or else you're going to end up like me, just working yourself to death." So that's what I did. I joined the Army. And when I joined the Army and I got free underwear, free clothes, free shoes, I didn't know what an omelet was. I had three oranges in my pocket, and the mess sergeant said, "You don't have to take those. They're yours. And if you're still hungry, you can go back and eat." I got back in line and ate again. That day, the first day I arrived at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, I determined I'm going to stay in the Army till they kick me out. I loved it. I didn't have to share my underwear. I didn't have to share my clothes. I didn't have to wear hand-me-downs, and I got paid just to do what they told me to do. I was like, I'm here forever. And I stayed for 26 years. I'd have stayed continued, but my wife told me after I was in combat the second time, she said, "You're getting out. You need to come home. I need you home." She was afraid that I would die, as so many other folks did do. So I got out of the Army.
Mhm.
I'll give you a side. My grandson goes to Fort Myers tomorrow to take MEPS to go into the Air Force. I told him the same thing my mama told me. I said, "You got a month after high school, you don't have a plan." I got a plan. We were in Italy visiting his relatives. I said, "So what you gonna do?" He said, "I don't know. You're going in the Air Force." I brought him back, took him to the recruiter. He went on and signed the paperwork. He took the test, got an 88, so he's way up there. Boy, smarter than I ever would be.
Mhm.
And I'm taking him up tomorrow to go to MEPS, and he'll be shipping out soon.
Uh,
He got the same choice I got from my mom. You don't know what you're gonna do? Let the military help you.
Can you share a moment with us that was intense during your time of service that you still remember to this day?
First time I went to combat, it was brutal. I used to pray for war like an idiot. I was in the 82nd Airborne. I was a paratrooper. I grew up on World War II heroes. I grew up understanding Vietnam. Vietnam ended 4 years before I actually joined the Army. And I used to pray to God to send me to war. I would pray to God, "God, why can't you have a war for me to go and die for my country?" I really thought dying for your country was the best thing you could ever do. Boy, was I wrong. Because when I got to war and I saw the brutality of it, the absolute fear that gets in one's heart and their body, and it controls you when you think of death and when you see death, that was the worst time in my life. It haunts me today, seeing death. in such a brutal fashion. So I tell people now that say they want to go in, be aware we are a military, and our job is that of killing, and that will haunt you if you are a person of right mind and soul. So yeah, that's the most intense thing that's ever been for me in the military. Then I went back to war again, but I was better prepared for what the brutality would be like. But it still haunts me.
Wow.
Yeah, because I remember in our capstone class I had you at my freshman year, you were letting us know how you jumped out of an airplane and you still were in school. Like, how were you able to balance those two things, school and jumping out of an airplane during war?
Yeah.
Like, how was that like?
Well, the beauty of it is I didn't have to go to war when I was jumping out of airplanes. I was with the 82nd Airborne Division when I started college, and I did 19 years to get my AA. Here's what the difference is. When I got in the military, I've been told most of my life I wasn't smart. My teachers were not very, what I would call, accommodating. And they thought I was not highly intelligent, but they didn't know I was working 3 jobs from the age of 8 all the way up until I joined the Army at 18, turning 19. 3 or more jobs, depends on what was happening in the season. So I didn't have a lot of time for high school, and I didn't have a lot of time for middle school, and elementary was a struggle too. Well, when I took the test for the Army, I did such a good job and my scores were so high when I joined the Army, they kept saying, "You're smart, you're smart, you're smart, you should go to college." So it was hard for me to figure out what that looked like. I knew nothing about college. My mom didn't have a high school diploma. She only knew that I needed to get out of high school. All her kids, all 4 of us, graduated from high school, but I'm the only one that went to college originally. And my mom's belief was college was something that was beyond our capability, but high school wasn't. So when I joined the Army and they said go to college, my very first class, I was throwing up in the bathroom, and the professor said to me, he said, "What's going on?" I told him, he said, "You got to try this. You got to go in." So I went into class, and he happened to be the person that was talking to me in the bathroom. And from there, I was in college until I turned 58, and that was 2018. So that's when I finished my last class, and they called me Dr. Harvey. But I will tell you, 19 years just to get my AA. So how did I do it? I had the belief that if I could jump out of a perfectly good airplane, then absolutely I can go to college. And I believe that if you start something, you have to finish it. You cannot stop just because it gets a little tough. And that's what the Army taught me. It's going to be tough, but either you roll on the ground and cry like a baby, or you get yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. So that's how I was able to do all of that. My strong belief that you don't quit, you keep moving forward, never give up, never ever give up.
That's
Okay?
beautiful. When you served as a sergeant in the military, you obviously were in charge of a squad, right? So you have these people that you're leading. What was the most important lesson that you learned during that time?
You know, that's a great question. My doctorate is in education. My focus is servant leadership. We serve others, and if we serve others and we serve others from the heart, then we're able to gain their confidence that we have their best belief at at our center of who we are, the point of who we are.
Mhm.
And so, empathy, not sympathy, empathy. The absolute understanding of where someone is and your ability to put yourself in that place. So if you're giving a command, an order to someone that you expect to be carried out, and you cannot put yourself in their shoes as to how this is going to make them feel and what impact it's going to have on their family, they will not trust you. They will not trust you because you don't have their best interests at heart. And when you're telling someone, I need you to do this, and there's a real probability they are going to die, the absolute trust they have in you must be that you're going to take care of them. And if something happens to them, you're going to take care of their family. That empathy, not sympathy, is a core to anything we do as leaders. And that's how I was able to lead. I was able to lead because I gained the absolute trust of the people that I have led, both in and out of the military. by letting them know I understand and I'm here to support. And that support cannot be blah, 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 blah. And then when they turn around, man, screw them. It has to be the kind of support that is visual, that is physical, that is present, that is consistent, and that is true. And if you cannot do that, you cannot lead, period.
What is something being a leader in the military has taught you that no book or title ever could?
You know, that's great. That you guys asking some really good questions, and believe me, audience, they did not prepare me for this. So I'm just coming off the cuff with these answers. So if it sounds like a babbling idiot, that's all on me, not them. That's a great question because the leadership aspect is what the military is all about, but it's also what being a parent is about.
Mhm.
It's what being a grandparent is about. It's what being a friend, a husband, a wife, a significant other to someone else, a friend. And that is all about the caring aspect that you have to bring to the relationship.
Mhm.
If you cannot have the desire to support others and it's all about you, you cannot be an effective leader anywhere. You have to believe that what you are doing is important, but it's more important to support the people that you are responsible for or responsible to. All right.
One of the most powerful point of views you shared with us is your point of view on family, especially chosen family. What does family mean to you and what does it stand for?
I'm going to tell you, family doesn't mean they run your blood.
Mhm.
That's a fact. We oftentimes are willing to throw away our life for someone that has demonstrated to us, even though they may be a part of our world, because of blood, that they don't care enough about us to be responsible with us as we go through life. That they are just selfish and they're going to take, 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 take. I have had more members of my family who were not of my blood, people I've served with, the people I've gone to combat with. A young man I knew from 16 and he's 54 now, and his kids are my god kids in Germany. We are closer than I am with my own family, and he is with his family. Family doesn't mean you have to be blood. Family is about the love and the respect that you show to one another. And that love and respect goes through the hard times and goes through the good times. And in the hard times, you can count on them to be there. In the good times, they'll be there to celebrate with you. I've had students that I've sat across from whose families were just absolutely horrible to them. And it breaks my heart because it takes, as you well know, a lot of courage to get up and come to college, to get up every day, to do the work, to do the effort. And without support systems in place, it can be a lonely journey, a very lonely journey. And you have those supports in place, you support one another, and that helps others to see that. So, family doesn't mean we run blood. Family could mean we just run the same and we care enough about each other.
Wow, that's powerful. Can you share a experience or a story of someone who became family through connection and not through relation?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I can do that. Guy by the name of Danny Green. Danny and I had a rough relationship initially because I liked his sister, and we were in the third grade, and we were out playing on the playground in school, and he pushed me down on top of a bottle that cut me up in my on my stomach, and we fought so much that I don't know how we became friends. But through combat as kids, we became lifelong friends to the point that I'll pick up my phone and call Danny just to check in. I can go 6 months without talking to him. When I call him, it's like yesterday was nothing. And we just get to talking and laughing and joking and catching each other up. And it might be a little time more before we see each other or talk to one another. So he's one of those guys that today I will call a lifelong friend, someone who is family, even though we don't share blood. And no, I didn't mess with his sister after that. I figured he was very protective of her. And so I was third grade, by the way. And so he was in the fourth grade, 1 year above me. So over time, you know, you find that ones that are going to be there with you when the struggles, those are the ones that you call friend and family.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit a story that was a little personal that you told me. I remember you were letting me know about your a grandma of yours that you thought was your actual grandma, but it was only through connection and through love, and it wasn't through blood.
Oh,
Can you
God.
share that story with us if you
Yeah,
don't mind?
I don't mind. As a matter of fact, I think that is a perfect example of someone who stepped up to the plate. My mother got pregnant in her senior year of high school
Mhm.
with my older brother, and we were 12 months apart. So he was born in January, I was born in December, for her first pregnancy. And in that time, that was 1950s, they would throw you out of school and then you would bring such dishonor to your family that oftentimes they would disown you. So
Mhm.
that's exactly what happened to my mother. She was thrown out of high school. She didn't graduate. She did graduate after her last child graduated. She went back to school. She said, I need to show an example. She went back to school. She graduated out of high school. So she did graduate after the last of her kids, my sister, graduated.
Beautiful.
But what my mother found herself before my father married her, she found herself homeless in the streets. My at that time father didn't know anything about it and nowhere to turn because she was pregnant. So the best friend of my grandmother took my mother in, and that woman became our grandmother to all four kids. We did not know she was not by blood. The aunt we call was our aunt. The uncle we call was our uncle.
Mhm.
This was our family. And
Mhm.
that's who I knew as my family. It wasn't until not many years ago who I called aunt. She said, You do know I'm really not your aunt. But she treated us like that. She loved us like that. She was our aunt. And she said, and she wasn't your grandmother. And she told me the story, which we did not know. My mother never told us.
Wow.
My grandmother never told us. And as a matter of fact, we came back from California so that my mother could spend time with her before she passed. And all of us took time taking care of my grandmother until she passed because she got sickly. And the revelation should have changed me.
Mhm.
It made me love her more. It made me love her more because she never let us know she wasn't blood. She was our grandmother and we were her grandchildren. And
Wow.
that's how she gave these huge hugs. I mean, hugs. Now she did love castor oil. And if you've never taken that, if you had a cold, castor oil with a little sugar. If you couldn't poop, castor oil with a little sugar. If you cut your finger, castor oil with a little sugar. I don't know what was up with castor oil in her, but that's the only thing I had something against was the castor oil. That stuff was god awful, crazy, bad. But other than that, she gave you castor oil and a hug to make you just love her more.
So I want to pivot the conversation to talk a little bit about your legacy. When people think about their legacy, they think about their accomplishments, things that they've achieved, and they want people to stand and realize some of those things. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, the first time I went to combat, I thought I was going to die. It was a really, really, really bad situation, and it was a really, really bad situation to the point that I prayed to God to get me out of it. And I would change a lot of things. What you start thinking about is not what you achieved financially, not what you purchased, not the material things that you have, but the memories you've made and the people will remember you when you're gone. See, memories keep you alive. When you're dead, when people stop talking about you, you then die. But as long as you have left a legacy, something that people will talk about and be proud to say your name, then you live
Mhm.
because they'll keep that name going. They'll tell their children about you. They'll tell their grandchildren about you. The grandchildren will tell how this person helped their family to get where they're going. The legacy we have is not about the material stuff, the things we purchase,
Mhm.
but the people we impact,
Yep.
the lives we change.
Mhm.
So what I want my legacy to be, I just told a nursing student today to say, hey, Dr. Harvey, look. And they were in their nursing outfit. And I said, when you see me, don't let them unplug because as long as I got a heartbeat, they got to send a retirement check. And I want my great, 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 great grandchildren to get that retirement check from the Army. And they started laughing. But in a way, my legacy is now this person is in the nursing program and I had something to do with that. Not keeping me alive,
Mhm.
but the fact that they achieved their goal. I saw a student when I was walking some parents around and a new student, and this student walked up to me and gave me a hug and said, I graduated my nursing degree. I'm here to get my bachelor's. I'm working at NCH and I'm loving life. That is the legacy that I want to leave. I want to leave the legacy that we as people can impact people as I have been impacted
Mhm.
by folks who helped me to get where I am.
Mhm.
The one like the professor who told me, try going into class, give it a shot, see if you can do it.
Wow. You've held leadership roles in the military and the education field. And the words servant over boss have really transformed who you are today. And I just want to ask you, what do those words mean to you when you think about them? Servant leadership.
Servant leadership. A servant leadership uh, person is someone who serves others
Mhm.
first. So it doesn't matter what that is. That could be someone working as a lawyer and they're working to help others,
Mhm.
or someone working in education, or someone working in elementary child care education, or someone who's a professor, or someone's a high school teacher, or someone who does interviews. You choose to serve others. In this case, you're serving the community. You have been doing that. You've been serving your community. Now, when does it transfer? When you take a leadership role and that leadership role allows you to impact more people. So previously you were helping maybe one or two people, you were doing this, you had an idea, you're going to start this Beneath the Silence
Mhm.
podcast. And believe it or not, you're reaching out to the community by bringing positive stories of change,
Mhm.
changing individuals, hoping that it can impact others. That is the definition of servant leadership. You're serving others, and now you're taking a leadership role within your community. In the military, you start out in the military as serving the military and serving
Mhm.
the country. Eventually, you say, you know what? I want to be a corporal. I want to be a sergeant. I want to move up in the ranks so I can help others, so I can
Mhm.
serve others, so I can lead others. Start out in education as a teacher. Then you choose to become a dean, an assistant principal, a math coach, some kind of a leadership role in education. So that's what it's all about.
I want to ask you on that point. Do you think everybody's meant to be a leader?
No, absolutely not. Leadership is the art of influencing others to accomplish a task by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. That's the military definition from Field Manual 22 100 for leadership. The art of influencing others to accomplish a task by providing purpose, direction, and motivation. Purpose, what needs to be done. Direction, how to get it done. Motivation, what do you get out for doing it? You provide those three elements, 9 times out of 10, you will lead someone. But there's a missing element. That missing element is the ability to connect with others to provide that purpose, direction, and motivation. In order to do that, leadership really is about connection, willingly following you based on my belief that you have my best interest at heart. Even if you're going to send me into combat, even if you're going to send me in a mission that could possibly kill me, that is what I signed up for. And
Mhm.
I believe you're not going to waste my life. If this is the job that needs to be done, you're telling me it needs to be done, and I trust you without a doubt. And if I die because of it, I understand that's what I signed up
Oh. So you've mentored generations. What is something that you always try to plant in the hearts of young people?
for. Give back,
Give back.
give back, become that servant leader. You're going to be out there in the community, you're going to be out there doing things. Two examples. You're going to be out there doing things to make people's lives better. That's giving back. You're going to hold a door open for someone. You're going to lift a package up that's heavy for someone. You're going to say thank you. You're going to be that person, give that extra tip. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be big things.
Mhm.
Little things can change a life. How many times have you said hello to someone and they just gave you this huge smile and said, hi? And you didn't know them,
Mhm.
but you just gave back to them. They could have had a rough day. Story. My mother passed away, and we had a goodbye for her, a party, a celebration. That's what she wanted.
Mhm.
And I walk into the funeral home's chapel, and this place is packed. Number one, I had no idea my mom was like that. I knew she would walk down the street, Miss Sylvia, I need a hug, and she just said, "Baby, come here and just give me a hug."
Mhm.
And she just hold on to him and then wish him well and keep going. Miss Sylvia, can you give me a hug? And she just hug him, and that was day to day, day to day. She go home and cats and dogs will be following her home, and we at one point we had 21 cats and like 6 dogs and a daggone rabbit all living around our house. Only a couple of them came in the house, but everything lived around, and they never fought. They never fought. Stray cats, stray dogs, they just loved each other. I believe it was my mother's influence that caused that. So we're at the funeral. We've got at a celebration. We've got a place packed, and I get a phone call. Got funeral director comes out and say, "Sir, would you please come? There's someone on the phone to talk to you." I go to the guy says, "Hey, you don't know me. I'm white." And I just say, "Okay." And he said, "Well, your mom saved my life." I said, now we got a story. Tell me what's
Oh,
going on.
yeah.
Mhm.
He said, "Your mom walked by me 10 years ago.
Mhm.
She stopped and she said, 'Baby, what's wrong?' When your mother said that, I had just made the decision I was going to commit suicide. I felt
Wow.
there was no reason to live."
Wow.
He said, "That was 10 years ago. Your mother used to tell me she's an angel, and I believe that." And she made a difference. She made such a difference that this celebration was full, and this guy took time out to call me to tell me he knew my name, he knew who I was. My mom talked about me to tell me that story. I'm crying. I go out there and I tell the people they crying. It's
Wow,
just
yeah.
like this is who she was. We make a difference. Sometimes we don't know it. Sometimes we don't understand it. I got a beautiful email telling me that a student came in. They've been trying to get that student in for the past 4 years. Student said, "It's such a wonderful chance to meet me and get involved." That student's not taking classes. I'm telling you, we make a difference and we don't know. So that's what servant leadership is all about. Serving others. And serving others, you don't get to choose who you serve.
Mhm.
You just get to serve.
Just get to serve. So right now, this segment is called Soulful Questions. This is where you might get a little bit emotional about the questions, but this is what Beneath the Silence is about. Talking about the things that hurt, but without feeling the pain because you already healed from it. What's something that you're still healing from that you don't talk about often?
You know, I don't talk about it. I guess I accept it. I served this country for 26 years. In the military, we have our problems. Don't think racial bias and discrimination does not occur. It absolutely does because we are who is out in our community.
Mhm.
But you learn to serve the greater good, the country, your unit, and each other. So a lot of that hatred is put aside. It breaks my heart that we are going backwards. But my wife reminded me of something. We're not going backwards. It's always been latent under the skin of the United States of America. The racism, discrimination, the hatred, the bias, that's always been there. It used to be open. So when I was growing up, you're walking on the street, they'll say "in," get off the sidewalk. The teacher subject call you an "in." You're working, they'll say that's a good "in" over there because he works hard. So I was a good "in" because I worked hard because I needed the job. So I did my job. I've always done my job. And I was a good "in." And they called you that. It wasn't given in anything that was to them bad. They were giving you a compliment. We took all of that and we put it under. And we pretended like we're all happy together. And then Obama was elected. A lot of hatred came out, a lot of anger came out. Then Trump was elected. More hate, more discrimination, more of what I find to be sadness for this country. Then Biden was elected. Nothing but divisiveness, nothing but hatred. Then Trump came back and even more. So I feel that we're at this point, I call it an inflection point, where we're going to have to decide as a country, who are we going to be? Are we going to be a country where we really espouse the Constitution and equal rights and opportunity? Are we going to be a country where we slide backwards to make America great again of the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, and hatred for each other become the predominant? So that breaks my heart that I see such hatred put out to just people across all lines, all religions, all races. It isn't one, it's across all. And this country is better than that. I didn't serve this country because I didn't believe in it. I believe in the ideals of this country, and I've been blessed to benefit from it. Look, I have a doctorate. I was told I wasn't smart. I have more education than most people. I have 4 degrees. All right? 4 degrees. I worked hard for them. Nobody gave them to me, but I got them. I've had jobs people only dream about. I have traveled the world. I have been to the Eiffel Tower and climbed to the top. I've been to Pisa. I used to shop and party in Venice every weekend, Venice, Italy. I have traveled. I wake up in the morning, my family go to Belgium just to have Belgian waffles. I have had a good life thanks to this great country we live in. So it's not all bad, but we do need to find our center, find who we are, find that and believe in the ideals. So that's what hurts me more, is to see us sliding backwards instead of moving forward. That's just my thoughts.
With all your accomplishments, what moment in your journey still humbles you to this day?
Becoming a father. Becoming a father. First of all, I ain't believe that that woman that married me, we've been married 42 years, going on 43, been together 44, going on 45. Of all the billions of men in this world, she chose me. And then she decided to stay with me. I would have divorced me a long time ago. But she, for whatever reason, God has blessed me that she loves me and she wants to be with me. So that was humbling. But man, the day I held my daughter right after she was born, and I looked down at her and she looked up at me, and that absolute trust, it's like she knew who I was.
Automatically.
Yeah, that was like crazy because she's looking at me, and because of her mixture, she had these striking blue eyes. And first of all, I said, "Nurse, I don't know whose baby this is, but you guys are screwed up. You need to go find my baby." And because she was really white hair and blue eyes. And I was like, "Nurse?" She said, "This your baby?" And I was like, "No, ma'am. My baby should be a little darker and maybe with brown eyes." And so she walked away. First, she threw the baby in my, not threw, but
Yeah, I get
put
it.
in my
Yeah.
arms and walked away. I said, "Nurse, nurse." And she just kept going, "You are stupid." And kept going. She was right. It is my daughter. I did DNA tests not many months ago. Anyway, I knew it was my baby. I knew it was. Nicole, if you're listening, I always knew you were mine. Okay. I just need a DNA test to prove. Anyway, so on a serious nature, that was humbling.
Mhm.
Oh my Lord. Being a father
Wow.
and then becoming a grandfather and holding my grandson, bringing someone into this world and then assuming the responsibility for them. If that doesn't humble you, you're not in the right business because that's responsibility beyond anything. That's where your real servant leader comes out because you're serving them
Mhm.
100% all the time. It never stops. All right? You never stop loving them.
What is one belief that you stood about in leadership that you had to unlearn?
That I had to unlearn
Yeah.
a belief that oh,
Mm.
yeah. Um, Tact is when you speak with someone or you kind of give an instruction, you give it in a way that does not cause them to feel as if you are kind of pushing hard on them.
Mhm.
You tactfully approach something. Well, they used to call me Sergeant Attack because if I told you it needed to be done, my belief is you're going to get it done now.
Mhm.
And so I had to learn now doesn't necessarily mean now. Now could be when they finish something. Because if I told you to do it and you didn't get it done, I was not very nice. And I had to unlearn that. That was an aspect that I learned in basic training as a private with my drill sergeants. When they tell you get it done, you're on it.
Mhm.
That cannot be reality. And so, as a young sergeant, when I was doing this, they pulled me off to the side and said, "That's not leadership. That's not effective leadership. You need to gain their support, gain their trust, use your leadership skills,
Mhm.
give them the mission, give them a time, get out of their way and allow them to get it done." Once I learned that, I became very effective as a leader because let's face it, it may be important to you right now, but it may not be important to them. You have to gain their trust. So that aspect of get it done now because I told you to, well, I learned how to step away from that, and it's no longer part of my life or my
Beautiful.
leadership.
Beautiful. When you hung up your uniform for the last time, what was the hardest part about stepping back into civilian life?
Whew, that's a great question because when I got out of the Army, I was Army GRTC.
Mm.
And so I kept continuing to wear my uniform. I did not want to leave that. The superintendent of schools said, "You are going to be an administrator." And I said, "Nope, I'm good." He said, "Nope, you're going to be an administrator." When a colonel tells the first sergeant what to do, what does he do? He salutes flagpole. Roger that. You're going to be an administrator in a discussion. So I became an administrator and I hung up that uniform. I have worn it periodically, and every time I put it on, I gotta stand in front of the mirror, look at all the awards and decorations. I went to Belgium for Belgium parachuter school. I jumped out of a balloon there in Belgium. I had a great time. I've jumped out of helicopters, jets, propellers, and when I look at my uniform, man, it's hard to hang that thing up because I look good in it, even a little chunky. I still look good. And so, all the things that I've earned, when I look at it, most people never know what it means,
Mhm.
but I do. And it makes me feel proud of what I've achieved serving this great country of ours.
Mhm.
So that's always hard. That was the hardest thing is knowing that I'm giving up a uniform that defines my service to this country. It is written on the uniform. If you know how to read it,
Mhm.
you see the number of years I've served. You see the number of stripes for combat that I have for 2 years in combat. You see the awards and decorations. You see the schools I've attended, the accomplishments I've had throughout my military career. And, those that know how to read it, when they see it, they're like, wow. And I'm like, yeah. I just saying,
Yeah.
I do look good in
Yeah.
it. All right,
All right, this next segment is called the lightning round. So it's fast questions and quick answers.
you
First
got it.
thing in your mind.
Let's do it.
What's one quote or book that shaped your life?
I have to say a quote that shaped my life was there's no right way to do wrong. And that was from Sergeant Major Jeter, United States Army Field Artillery. There is no right way to do wrong.
What's your go-to way to reset when you're overwhelmed?
My go-to way when I'm overwhelmed is just to stop, reflect, and keep in mind this is not life, limb, or eyesight. No one's gonna die. No one's gonna lose a arm or leg, and no one's gonna go blind. So it's not that important.
If you could sit down with any leader in history, who would it be?
Colin Powell. I met General Colin Powell many years ago, and I felt like I knew him for a long time. And it was a brief 10-second meeting. but he made me feel so important. And Colin Powell was one of our greatest generals, but more importantly, he was a true servant leader. And that is someone, if I could just meet again, I absolutely would.
Beautiful. So, into the next segment. This segment is called Leave Your Mark Challenge. This is where the guest brought an item or an object that symbolizes importance to them. They're going to let us know where they got it from and why is it so important to them.
Okay. What I brought was my 82nd Airborne hat. 82nd Airborne. When I joined the Army in 1978, I knew that I wanted to do something special. So the hat symbolizes the first unit that I was in. And that airborne unit became critical to me because it was the toughest thing I'd ever done in my life. I mean, I had a lot of accomplishments. I got through basic training, I got through advanced individual training. I did well in those. My life up until that point had been one that I felt if I wanted it done, I can get it done. I just believed in it.
Mhm.
But airborne school, I injured myself. I had to crawl off the drop zone or else get recycled. I had a really bad jump. I was jumping out of an aircraft at 3,000 feet, 10 o'clock at night, 60 pounds worth of equipment, and scared to death. To overcome all of that meant that I had to reach deep inside of myself and find someone that I did not know existed, to face fears that I did not know even existed, and to achieve something that I did not know if I would be able to achieve. So the 82nd and that success has driven my train ever since. If I've accomplished something, no matter how small or how large, it is a direct reflection of me being a U.S. Army paratrooper doing things I didn't think I could do. From being a parent, the hardest job in the world, to being a director of a college campus, to being an academic advisor or being an assistant principal, or completing any other degrees from my associates, my bachelor's, my master's, or my doctorate. I all attribute that to the fact that I was able to do something I absolutely had no clue I could do. Being a United States Army paratrooper and being successful at it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Beautiful. And I'm wild. Thank you, Dr. Harvey, for stopping by and conversating with us, letting us know your perspective on how you grew up as a kid, as a man today. Like it's an honor to see and hear from someone who's gone through the things that you've been through that I've only heard about in YouTube videos, I've only read about in books. So it was an honor, like being able to sit next to you and get your story and your point of view on those things. We're very honored to have this conversation with you.
Thank you very much.
Again, I want to thank you on our behalf, and the story that you shared with us, your experiences showed us what true leadership is and what it actually means. It's not about the positions that we have or the titles that we have placed on us, but it's about how we're impacting the life of others.
100%.
So I appreciate it. If anyone's out there, you're listening, I hope you, the audience, you picked up on the gems and lessons that Dr. Harvey was dropping today and ultimately use them to impact your life in a positive way. Thank you for stopping by and listening to our podcast today. This is the Beneath the Silence podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
We speak from scars,
not
not
the
the
wounds
wounds
they
they
left.
left.